Hello, friend. Welcome to Liberation Day. Make America wealthy again. Yeah. So stoked, so excited. It's April 3rd, 2025, technically the day after Liberation Day. We're going to jump right into this. I'm super excited to look at how Liberation Day or Make America Wealthy Again impacts the retail business, especially folks like you and me in the trading card space or in the hobby space for local game stores. And super excited to just look at the details of this and jump in and see how it affects us. And if you can tell by my overly joyful, sarcastic tone, there's some drawbacks. There's some drawbacks here on Liberation Day, and we're gonna jump into that a little bit and look at some of the details. I'm just kind of riffing here and going with the flow based on some of my thoughts. Got a couple notes to go over, but how does Liberation Day and this tariff plan that was announced by Mr. Trump affect our business? And generally, I don't get into politics, at least in at work or work adjacent. But this is like when we come to money, when it gets to money, I'm a business guy. When we talk about money, and if the money from the government is going to be if the government is going to be messing with my money, then we're going to talk about it. I feel like that's like it's a pretty middle of the road. Making money is important, no matter what side of the road that you're on. If you get what I'm saying. How will Liberation Day affect my business? And your business, and the broader economic impacts. We're going to go over a little bit of that. And I might be dancing around and bouncing a bit here, but a couple main points I'm going to go over is how is it going to affect the retail business for retail and TCG and in the hobby space. And we'll talk about production queues and print times for cards a little bit, and talk about what the options are for some of these other printers in the U.S. And then something I think that's really important to me, if you've watched any of my content before, is I talk a lot about opening trading card stores or retail stores in the U.S. I'm really bullish on that. I think it's a great idea. Do I still think it's a great idea now that we've talked about and announced Liberation Day, Make America Wealthy Again tariffs? And we'll look at some counterpoints as well, and the idea of, hey, maybe we should just make everything in the U.S. and then we don't have to deal with shipping costs and some of these other ideas. So. Let's just first look at how Liberation Day or how these tariffs are going to affect the retail business, and we're going to talk about our own sandbox here. So I'm in the TCG space primarily. We do wargaming, we do D&D, we do board games, but trading card games are the vast majority of what we do. And let's talk about who's paying the tariffs. So just recently, and a lot of stores have been doing this longer than I have for importing from Japan, but just recently I started importing products from Japan. And primarily Pokemon, some One Piece, and some Lorcana, and that's I'm the importer of record in the United States for that order when it comes in. And from Japan, there's now a 24% tariff that's going to go into effect. I believe it's on April 8th or 9th, or soon in the next couple days. So if I spend $10,000 on an order coming in from Japan, the federal government of the United States of America, where I live, where I'm a citizen of, been here my whole life, paying taxes, income taxes, state sales taxes, is now going to say, I need you to pay us 24% of that cost of goods of the thing you just received. So quick math, $2,400, I have to just like come up with that. Now there's not enough meat on the bone for those products. There's not enough margin on there for me to make any money buying that anymore. That's just gone. So we did a lot in revenue in March, and that revenue is gone in terms of the stuff we were importing from Japan. And that's like now. It's not even like a maybe this will happen. This is like this is in stone now. So unless the Japanese market completely reduces their cost of goods, or unless the American consumer is willing to pay an extra 24%, that revenue is just lost. And that could be $1 million revenue a year. It could be more, just for our business model. So that's just so you know. So people that are watching this, the importer is paying the tariff on that. So our distributors, we also buy from brands and distributors in the U.S. So the other product I'm getting, like English Pokemon or Flesh and Blood or One Piece, if that product is printed outside of the U.S., those distributors and those brands will now have to pay a 24% tariff if it's from Japan. If it's from the European Union, it's 20%. If it's from China, it's 34%. There are stacking tariffs too, so this 34% from China is actually probably more. And there's a baseline of 10% across the world. So, and the chart is pretty wild. Like there's like Cambodia is 49%, and then it's kind of this really wild numbers all over the place. So, I digress. Primarily trading cards is our big bread and butter. And again, Pokemon acquired some English distribution plants back during the COVID era, and so they have ways to produce in the U.S. They kind of good for them for like pre-planning. Wargaming, however, like the miniature wargaming space, is almost all exclusively in Europe. So Games Workshop, who we have a large partnership with, we do a lot of wargaming in our stores. I'm probably going to get an email from them within moments if I haven't already, saying, "Hey, sorry, rip, there's a 20% increase on your cost of goods that we're passing through to you," because they ship directly to us. They're from their Tennessee, U.S. plant, but it all comes over. It's all made in Europe. One Piece is all printed in Japan. Flesh and Blood is Belgium and Japan. Magic is Japan and the U.S. So there's some plants there. And the counterpoint here really is that we'll get into is, hey, all these companies should just make America great again, make America wealthy again. They should invest in U.S. domestic manufacturing, and that there's pros to that for sure. Like and American jobs are important. Like I don't think that that's something we need to. We don't need to be exclusively a global economy where we don't produce anything in the U.S. But it is a global economy, and for example, this Japanese product that I'm importing from Japan is in the Japanese language. That's why there's, Americans are fascinated with Japanese culture, many of them, and that's part of like our hobby space is a lot of Japanese influence, from video games to card games to anime to manga. All that stuff is heavily influenced by Japanese production. So that's something, and of course. Yeah, we talk. So one of the things, the auto manufacturer stuff, and I'm going to kind of digress here to like world economy and general opinion about this. We have they've put a huge emphasis on having Americans buy American cars and taxing and putting tariffs on Japan and the European Union, because a lot about the automaker stuff. I'm really going to get into the weeds here on opinion land, so I'm walking out on opinion island. And when I was a kid, my parents bought Toyotas because American cars were crap. They broke down and they weren't as reliable, and you couldn't get as much out of them. So they would buy Toyotas and get more. It was more reliable, and they last forever. I think one of the reasons that people don't talk about is the reason why Americans are obsessed with, they're fascinated with Japanese automobiles and culture, is because the quality is really good. It's really good, and it's reasonably priced, right? So like, I think that's okay. I think it's okay if we buy stuff from overseas if it's a quality disparity. Like if the American car was just a better car, then I think people would buy it. And so I think, we can invest in that and require Americans to buy American goods because we're pricing out all the other stuff. But it's not, yes, we're hurting like these other countries because they're not going to be able to sell as much to us. But like the people that are really getting just hosed by this are small businesses, like the mid-cap companies and large cap. Don't really matter. Like tech companies, they're not producing anything physical that they're importing generally. They're making like AI tools that exist on the cloud that don't have some sort of import tax. But the small businesses, the Etsy sellers, the eBay sellers, the eBay buyers, like if you buy stuff on eBay and it says from Japan and that comes in, like good luck. You're going to add 24% to that starting in 2 days. Anyone that buys products on Alibaba or any of these companies that are not in the U.S., because it helps support your business and it helps your business in the U.S. If you have employees, you're paying Americans to work, and and those employees, like we have 24 employees at Kingslayer, and I can pay them because we sell goods that aren't made here, and they're not made here because of the quality to make them elsewhere, and the price is better. So instead of penalizing, in another way, or incentivizing, can we just incentivize people making manufacturing plants in the U.S. and give them a bonus? Instead, we're just taxing the living crap out of the small business owners like myself. And I think that's going to be, I don't know what this is going to look like, actually. I don't know. Like, I don't want to pass through a 24% cost increase to consumers on certain goods. Like that seems really bad. And I don't know, like this is happening now. This isn't some thing that is going to evolve over the next. I mean, it's going to evolve. Like there's going to be deals that are made, I'm sure, country by country. The U.S. there's like a lot of positioning here, and there will be deals made on the side that say like, oh, we're making exceptions for this, we're making exceptions for that. And there's a little bit of a shock and awe thing that's happening yesterday and today. But I think by and large, some of it's going to stick. Some amount of this is going to stick, and it's going to put it's going to put a lot of U.S. small businesses out of business. Back to my general point, a lot of our product mix in the retail trading card space is produced out of the U.S. And so it's going to make it more difficult for us to be profitable. I'm going to be watching our P&L month over month, and maybe I'll share some of that if this type of talk is interesting. But we're going to keep monitoring that over time. So that's how it's going to affect my retail business. And then something I talk about a lot on this channel, more times and sometimes more often than others, is I'm really bullish on the idea of opening trading card stores. I think the trading card game store and the retail hobby gaming store is one of the last frontiers for retail that makes sense, that has profitability. It's protected by the manufacturers, the brands, and the distributors do a great job of protecting and preserving the space. They, the things that, I'm in a trade organization called GAMA. It's the Game Manufacturers Association, and it's basically all the retailers, publishers, brands get together every year and throughout the course of the year and work on making the industry better. And I think it's one of the rare retail industries that's left. That is protected because the brands say, hey, we're going to make exclusive products specifically for the retail store and exclusive experiences with organized play. And it's a third space away from home. The third space concept is you've got home, you've got work, and then there's that other place that you hang out or do things for fun. And the retail store, because there's local game store owners like myself that create this space and provide jobs, bring in really cool product and experiences, and it's a place where people can find community, and that's really important to me. And I think the whole ecosystem of the retail game store understands that and protects that very carefully. It's a very delicate environment that we protect because it's one of the last remaining retail businesses that can work. I'm very bullish on opening trading card stores. I talk to people about this every week. I have people that reach out and we talk and we do kind of one-off consultations on opening a game store and seeing if it makes sense for them to do in their space. And, I still recommend doing it. I think now this is a huge asterisk. The risk factor goes up. Now, generally speaking, and probably now as well, whenever there's volatility in the world economy or U.S. economy, whether it's COVID, whether it's recession, whether it's a bull market, generally speaking, it's been good for the collectibles industries. For whatever reason, when there's volatility in the world economy or in general, when there's economic volatility for whatever reason, people spend more money on collectibles. So in traditional markets where economies are bad, for whatever reason, collectibles do good. Collectibles are kind of stale when there's not much volatility or stuff, money moving around in the world economy. So this is volatility, and for better or for worse, it's probably for worse for the small businesses and for the consumer. It's going to create volatility, and we'll have to see how that manifests. If that means more people are selling collections, if it means everyone's rushing to buy out. Like this could be the Costco day. This could be the toilet paper day today. I'm afraid to go. It's 10:30. Our Costco just opened in Orange County, and they're always busy. I bet you the Costco right now is crazy. So it could mean our shelves get sold out and we make a bunch of money in the next couple of days because everyone's afraid that the prices and stuff is going to go up. But then I'm not going to be able to restock anything without these crazy tariffs that I'm going to be paying the Fed. Like I have to give the federal government thousands of dollars every month for stuff I'm bringing into the U.S. Like, are you kidding me? Like we generate over $20,000 to $30,000 in sales tax revenue every month that we generate for the state. We have income taxes, we have payroll taxes, and this additional 20 to 34% or what it's wild. So do I recommend opening a trading card store? I think it's still going to outweigh in the long run. I think this stuff will level out over a period of time, and deals will be made with individual countries. So there could be an exemption for Japan, overnight, where they make a deal that's a little bit better than this, or with China or the EU, and that probably will happen over the course of the next couple months. It still won't be as good as it was maybe a couple months ago, but it's cyclical, and I think volatility for whatever reason usually breeds opportunity in the collectibles markets. The things that might be beneficial from this. So if we do have economic, not that we want this, but say we do have an economic recession, the price of your lease that you might be able to negotiate could get better. If people are in the position where they haven't been able to buy a home, I'm 38 and I still rent, and I haven't been able to buy a home yet because the prices are outrageous. We're in Southern California. This might create an opportunity if there's a recession where home prices come down. There's weird pockets of opportunity with volatility, and I think that's something to observe and monitor. And I still think it's a good time, and it might be in some ways, it might be a better time to open a trading card store because the costs of the operations for a lease and the commercial property, like there's some places are going to go out of business. Like people are going to go out of business. Small businesses will close because of this. Like there are a lot of goods that come in overseas, and these small businesses aren't going to be able to swing an extra 20% cost that they can pass on to their consumer. Like that's just not going to work. So there very well might be more opportunity to get a lease that is favorable. And then we'll see. Like our consumer isn't going to be able to absorb 20% cost. Like it's not likely. We look at one of the things I look at Kingslayer is I look at spend, and I can see if consumers or customers are paying with cash, debit card, or credit card. And credit card spend has been on the rise for about 4 months. So what that says to me is that the FOMO for Pokemon and all these TCGs that are unobtainable, that are allocated, that are really hard to get your hands on, the prices have already been going up. Like inflation is already crazy high, and especially in our industry, which is like kind of different from the US economy. And people are already overpaying for product, and they're using credit more often than they've ever have in the past. So, and I think there's a bubble in the market, and now since there's this cost explosion event, it could create a lot of pain. Maybe none of this happens. Maybe this is too doom and gloom. I apologize if this is a little bit too on the dark side, but it felt like it was something I should talk about. I think I need to talk about my opinions and feelings about the industry more. I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. And I still think you should open a game store. If you're like, hey, I want to open a game store, shoot me an email. Send me a DM on Discord. We'll talk about it. I think it's still, there's really good there's opportunities to be found in volatility. Boom. There's my theme for the video. And I think the counterpoint again is really just make it in America. And the problem with that in the short term is that TCG, trading card game production queues at these print houses are so booked. Like, 'cause think of there's 12 major TCGs right now and a bunch of other smaller ones. And if you want to launch a TCG in 2025, if you call up the big print manufacturers, Cartamundi in Belgium and Cartamundi, I can't remember the name. If you call up these print houses that are maybe more independent, and you say, hey, I have a trading card game I want to bring to market, and I need 100,000 booster boxes printed. Good luck. Like I'm sure Pokemon would print more Journey Together and Surging Sparks if they had print capacity, but they're already printing Destined Rivals and all the next things that are coming out over the course of the year. Same thing with Magic and all these other developers. All that print time is booked in the U.S. Printers and the overseas printers, and now there's going to be much more demand. Like I'm sure all the calls that have been. If I was Legend Story Studios, if I was Bondi, if I was any of the companies that are producing outside of the U.S., I'm sure for the last 4 months they've been calling U.S. manufacturers saying like, hey, this is Legend Story Studios. I need to print Flesh and Blood in the U.S. so I don't get absolutely just cratered by these tariffs that the administration is passing. And I'm sure they just laugh. I'm sure they're just like, ha ha ha, laugh them out of the room. Like you need 3 to 4 years before you can get any print time, or you can pay a premium. So, yes, there might be a demand for U.S. manufacturing in the short term, but I don't know. Again, coming back to quality, like there's a reason why we bought Toyotas. It's because they were better. And now, maybe that's like, I'm not being a good nationalist or very pro-America, but that's just let's call a spade a spade. Like that's what was happening. Sometimes the print quality of stuff printed overseas is better than in the U.S., but I'm not opposed. Let's bring it into the States, sure. But I think in the short term, there's a couple years of print queue problems and demand, and this is probably going to make that worse. But time will tell. We'll see. Those are my thoughts. Yeah, I wrote the word catastrophic down, and I think that's probably a little extreme. But who knows? We'll observe over time. My name's Travis. Thanks for watching. If you like more of this kind of stuff, off the rails, unhinged ramblings, let me know. All right. See you next time.